Kash Patel, once a darling of the Trump administration, is now almost on the verge of personifying the phrase, they eat their own. The Trump administration seems to be turning on him, and it looks like things are going badly for him very quickly. I'm Brian Kabateck, and this is Shant Karnakian on the Legal AF Network. This is Civil Action. Shant, take it away.
Well, so Kash Patel's catching a lot of heat by some of the folks in the MAGAverse, maybe some of the other MAGA Muppets that we should cover on our show. But this time it's for how he fumbled the ball in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination and the investigation they tried to do. But this is what happens when you come in and you don't know what you're doing and your only qualification is that you're a former podcaster like us, and you try to run the FBI and you get rid of people that you don't like or you think that your daddy Donald Trump doesn't like. So that's kind of what he did here. I think we start with maybe the first thing I want to start with, Brian, and you could talk about your sort of favorite blunder in all of this. But the first thing I want to start with is how he jumped the gun with announcing that they had the killer in custody. Like a few minutes afterwards, he just jumped. He went on his personal Twitter account, his X account, and he tweeted that they jumped the gun, which is like something the FBI does not do, much less the head of the FBI. And that resulted in a lot of chaos, and reports are that caused a lot of chaos and problems. And immediately, I'm sure that caused a lot of credibility damage too with the FBI.
What's weird about this, Sean, is that by all reports, Kash Patel, and we are going to cover him in a MAGA Muppet episode at some point because he just has so much stuff in his background. But Kash Patel apparently was friends with Charlie Kirk, and they were close. And if that's true, then the things he was doing here were nothing short of grandstanding on his dead friend's, assassination. And it's horrible. But one of my favorites was the assassination happened, middle of the day in the middle of the country, right? So it was a little later on the East Coast. The reason I say that is within a few hours, Kash Patel is out dining at what's reported to be an exclusive Washington, D.C. restaurant.
Right.
The day, hours after the assassination. That's just
one of his friends and someone that's close to the administration. Yeah, it's just really weird. Another weird thing that I found, and a lot of Republicans found to be kind of tone deaf and just odd, was when he got up there at the press conference, he said something about I'll see you in Valhalla, which is it's like a Nordic, it comes from like Norse mythology. It's like a reference to like Nordic Vikings. And as far as I know, Charlie Kirk was not, he wasn't Nordic, nor was he a Viking. The man was a Christian, he identified as a Christian. So to say something like "I'll see you in Valhalla," referring to like some Nordic mythology about the afterlife, is just kind of offensive almost.
And the press conference, and by the way, I make fun of somebody's appearance, but there is something about Patel. Every time he gets in front of camera with those big giant bug eyes, literally looks like a guy who's been in a room for a half an hour and someone just told him that his fly was down.
I mean, maybe that is kind of how he feels in his role in the FBI. Like he kind of doesn't know what he's doing, and he's sort of cosplaying, right? He's always putting on the outfits. I remember early on, he would put on like the FBI SWAT stuff. And
let's get back though to some of the substantive stuff here. So one of the things that I think really people found offensive when you oppose it with the fact that Patel and his crew have slammed the FBI, people have lost their jobs. And by the way, Sean, we covered this before. The day that Charlie Kirk was murdered, was assassinated, was the exact same day that three high-ranking FBI officials, including the former deputy director, sued over losing their jobs. And one of those individuals was the head of the Salt Lake City office where this investigation was out of, right? Yeah.
How's that for a coincidence?
So the same day. But the next day, September 11th, Patel hosts a call with 200 agents where he and Deputy Director Don Bongino, another MAGA Muppet, started venting frustration. And apparently, according to people who heard the conversation, was he even referred to their efforts in this investigation as Mickey Mouse. Now, keep in mind, this investigation, multi-agency investigation, within like 33 hours led to the arrest of the suspect. So apparently it wasn't so Mickey Mouse after all.
Yeah, he came out and I mean, he tried to defend the premature announcement and all of that stuff. But yeah, apparently like he was pissed off. He actually went out to Utah to talk about this, but this is kind of what happens. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. When you appoint someone like this to the head of the FBI, someone that doesn't have a career in law enforcement, that doesn't have a career in this type of intelligence leadership, this is what happens. You get stuff like this. I mean, this is a big hit for the FBI's credibility and their professionalism and people's confidence in them.
Well, I don't think the FBI did anything wrong here. I think Kash Patel and his leadership is the problem.
That's right. I think in terms of optics, I don't think the FBI did anything wrong here. I think in terms of optics, it makes them look really bad, and that undermines an American institution, a big top law enforcement institution in the country.
Right.
I mean, do you think he's going to catch flack from Trump directly? Do you think Trump's going to call him to the carpet?
I don't know, but I do know that Stephen Bannon, another guy who should be in the same camp as Kash Patel, and that's why I said at the beginning when they start to eat their own, is that he came out and he criticized what was going on. He criticized the way that it was handled in the first place. He mocked the event, meaning the press conference. And then other people have come out and said, wondering whether or not he's the right man to run the FBI. And by other people, I mean other conservative podcasters have asked whether or not he's the right man to run the FBI. And, like we said before, he has no law enforcement experience whatsoever. So, all these criticisms of the FBI seems to come full circle, and it's really criticisms of him. It's not the FBI. The FBI did its job here, despite the fact that they've lost key agents.
Yeah. I think it'll come back and bite him in the ass. Like, I mean, it's only a matter of time until Trump goes after him and, he becomes Trump's shiny new object of anger or excuse.
And that's a good question. And this isn't over. There's going to be congressional probes next week, just coming up, possibly as soon as when this thing airs, when this podcast of ours airs. There's question about whether or not his resources are being properly used in the FBI. This was an awful lot of agents to dedicate to one investigation, although they came up with results very quickly. Were they able to go back to their other assignments? That's an ongoing dispute inside the FBI as well, which is how much time and effort is being spent looking into things that aren't significant. And I'm not suggesting that Charlie Kirk's investigation wasn't significant. I'm talking about some of these politically driven investigations. And the fact that now the Trump administration wants to investigate left-leaning groups and use FBI resources for that is nothing short of insane.
Yeah, this is just wild. I mean, all of this is wild, and we'll see how it shakes out in terms of Kash Patel, or if there's going to be some sort of weird policy changes at the FBI. Who knows? I mean, I don't know what the result of these probes can be, by the way, next week. So we'll keep up with those. We'll see if there's interesting things that happen in those investigations or in that probe. We'll share that, probably do some videos on that.
I'll give you my final thought on this, Sean, and then let you close this out. I think that, this is an example of one of these appointments which is going to fizzle out, and it's just a matter of time before it fizzles out. An organization like the FBI that's done good work, mostly, for a long time in this country, you put a guy like this in the spotlight, and it's just a matter of time before he burns out in that spotlight. I think you're going to see this here. I think you're going to see, as the time goes by, that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are exposed as complete, absolute incompetence, in my opinion. So stay tuned. Let's see what happens. You get the last word?
Well, all I'm going to say, I agree with all of that. All I'm going to say is podcasters don't make great FBI directors. It's probably, I don't think you and I will be getting the call for that job anytime soon. And I'm okay with that. But I'm Sean Kernigan. That's Brian Kabateck. This is Civil Action on the Legal AF Network. If you like this content, hit that subscribe button. Share with us your comments. We promise we actually read them. We try to talk about things you want to hear about. And we're looking forward to hearing from you again.
Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.